Good morning, everyone. This is Ed Capone from the Northeast River Forecast Center, and I have with me this morning Rob Shedd. A briefing, and ask your questions anytime you'd like. As we get into the briefing, what more can we say? It's as white, cold, as iceful as you'd ever want to see the Northeast. It's still hard this morning to find any open areas at all. Second slide. On the top picture, we have even Lake Ontario is starting to freeze up. But there's Lake Seneca and Cayuga Lakes open. The closest below micro scale cloudiness being blown off by the extremely cold northwest winds in that area. See that? Probably a flurry coming out of those clouds. And also over there to your left, you can see the river, and even Niagara, seen on the news, is pretty much iced up. On the lower left slide, there is a little area of openness west of Burlington on Lake Champlain in the deep area. And as we were talking this morning on the lower right slide, Buzzards Bay down here in your phone. And we have ice showing up in Boston Harbor, Buzzards Bay, and Cape Cod Bay on the east side, just west of Truro on the Elbow, and even between Nantucket and the south shore of the Cape, there's a lot of ice showing up. We're also this year experimenting with the Suomi project, with a joint polar project with NASA and NOAA, putting together some imagery for us. It'll Suomi our AWIF system. And if you look down at the legend at the bottom, it's pretty hard to see, but it's looking at portions of river ice, the blue being water. Of course, we need cloud-free days for this polar rover to see this. But we'll be able to look at ice activity in our area, and during flooding, we'll also be able to look at flooding as depicted from this VIIRS imagery. Okay, so the last 2 weeks, we've been cold and snowy, record cold and record snows. River ice formation continues on all our rivers with freeze-up jams in place. The parade of significant snowstorms has continued, especially in the eastern areas of our service area, where snow depths and the snow water equivalents have increased dramatically. And precipitation during this time was anywhere from 1 to 2 inches above normal in extreme eastern watersheds. The lower left graphic, you can see precipitation in the past 2 weeks, up to 2.5 inches in the eastern Massachusetts area. Departure from normal precipitation in the middle graphic. Other than eastern New England, around Boston into southern New Hampshire and in the lee of Lake Ontario, most of the area has actually been a little bit drier than normal. In the lower right graphic, I have a snowfall graphic showing the first 2 weeks of February, over 30 inches above normal in eastern Massachusetts into eastern Maine. But as we mentioned, if you look back at the 90 and 180-day precipitation departures, if you look at New York as a whole, the state has been drier than normal. And in the last 180 days, anywhere from 3 to 8 inches below normal precip. And I'll show you a graphic in a couple of slides on what that means for that area. Our snow conditions map today, the upper left graphic, is showing snow depth. Everything in green is above 2 foot of snow depth. Around the Boston area, there's 30 to 40 inches. In Massachusetts, northern Rhode Island on the ground. And into down east Maine, there's reports of 70, 75 inches in Machias near the coast. So above 2 feet everywhere in eastern New England, including the Green and White Mountains and in the lee of Lake Ontario. 2 feet or less in the Champlain Valley, the Connecticut Valley, and portions of the Hudson Valley. Upper right graphic, I'm showing this for SWE this time around. We have 5 to 8 inches of snow water equivalent in eastern Massachusetts, ranging up to 10 to 12 inches in the Bangor area down to Eastport, Maine. That south of the Mohawk and the lower Hudson and Connecticut, anywhere from 4 inches or less snow water equivalent. Lower left graphic shows the snowpack temperature, still very cold. In southern New England, where we anticipate some rainfall coming in the next event, snowpack temperature mid-20s. Snow density indicated in the lower middle graphic, still showing it's a very not ripe, very dry snowpack with 20 to 25% or less density. So there's a lot of room to put a lot of water in this pack before we see any significant runoff. The lower right graphic, we're looking at when the system goes through, how much snowwater equivalent is actually being gained on the pack. And then this last event that went through Maine, you have anywhere from a quarter to a half-inch snowwater equivalent gained. I pulled out of the Northeast Regional Climate Center their Extreme Snowwater Equivalent Atlas. And we're looking here at the 50-year return period maximum snowwater equivalent. And we're really concerned with two areas. One of them, northern Rhode Island into eastern Mass, and another one down East Maine. We think these two areas, we have a 50-year return period of snowwater equivalent. And our area here affecting the few basins into the Charles River and the Ponset basins, Blackstone, Patuxent Basin, we have anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7 inches of snowwater equivalent. And this atlas was put together for the two reasons. One being you can look at how floods are going to be anticipated with the snowwater equivalent, and also level ground loads, snow loads for roofs. As we know from our past civil engineering experience, roof loads consist of a live load, dead load, wind load, and snow load. So we look at the 6 inches of water in the snow here in the I-95 corridor in eastern Mass. So that's equivalent to 31.2 pounds per square foot of weight. And we looked into the Mass Building Code here, and anywhere from, every town has their own code for snow load, and anywhere from 35 to 75 pounds per square foot is in the code for building for snow load. So right here with the 6 inch, we have up 30. In Taunton, Norton area, 55 pounds per square foot is what is supposed to be the code. So these snow water equivalent maps also help with roof loading. And as we look at the USGS conditions for both Streamflow and groundwater, we're seeing a lot of reds showing up. So in the past month in southern New England, we haven't had a drop of water into surface runoff. It's all been locked in the pack. So we've got all this locked in the pack, and we have pretty deep frost depth before the snow pack started in late January. So subsequently, we have some lower stream flow and lower groundwater conditions. Also, when I showed the maps earlier, the 90 and 180-day precipitation in New York is quite a bit below normal. So that long-term recession to groundwater is showing up in New York as below normal groundwater levels in the gauges. If we look at the water supply lake levels, New York City's water supply, they've also got their runoff locked in the pack, and the last 3 months less than normal precipitation. So they're about 10 or 11% below the normal at 76% of capacity in their reservoir system. Quabbin is in the normal range. Situate Reservoir in Rhode Island is about pretty much the normal range. They're 5 feet from spilling, so there's some space there for some runoff. And Lake Champlain is just below the normal level this morning. As we look at the soil moisture, river ice thickness, and frost depth, the Palmer indices indicate kind of above normal moisture conditions in eastern New England. River ice thicknesses, we have January and February, the accumulated freezing degree days are quite a bit above normal. And we're looking at 1 to 2 foot ice thicknesses on rivers in northern New England, ranging down to 6 to 8 to 10 inches in southern New England. We do have some ice jams still, freeze-up jams still in place in Maine. And we're looking at these frost depths, but what we've noticed is after the snow cover hit, the frost depths, of course, haven't increased at all. In fact, the temperature profile in southern New England, 8 to 20 inches deep, is got a 34-degree temperature on it now. It was in the low 30s below freezing before the snowpack was there. And the snowpack temperatures in southeastern New England are around 27 degrees, which confers with the modeling from no-risk people. Looking ahead, the theme is still colder than normal, and I have cold and snow and mixed events and rain, as we'll be talking about here for southeastern New England. So below normal temps for week 1, below normal precip in New York, and above normal precip along the East Coast, week 1. 48-hour QPF that Ron prepared this morning, anywhere from half to 3/4 of an inch maximum showing up across southern New England. And right with that quarter to half color blue and the green is pretty much where some of the mixing may occur in this event to rain along the south coast. If we look at the 7-day QPF on the right graphic from CPC, you can see that more of a southern stream or the Gulf is anticipated to produce some of the rainfall on the precip up to 2 to 4 inches across the easternmost part of southern New England. Week 2, still below normal temperatures, but as you see from the CPC graphics, the cold is easing a bit. Normal precip in New York area and above normal in most of New England still in that time frame. And again, we're watching cold developments, and unlike the previous 4 weeks, we think that Gulf moisture may be more involved in these. As we looked at some of these teleconnections as we have in the last couple of winters, the NAO, North Atlantic Oscillation, has been basically positive most of the winter, and the composite temperature anomalies from that positive is showing of normal temperatures. We know that has not been a player this year. The PNA is scheduled to, the Pacific North American pattern is scheduled to go from neutral to negative in the next 10 days or so. And with that happening, we could see normal to somewhat below normal temperatures. So we know these two have not been big players for the northeast temperatures. What has been is this Eastern Pacific Oscillation, which we've talked about in the negative phase, pumps a big ridge into Alaska, and in the east we have this troughiness, and the arrow there is showing we've had frequent bouts of either cross-polar or even Siberian air into the northeast. This is retrograded a little bit into the center part of the country, but still most of the country is very cold. In the February composite temperature anomalies from that are colder than normal, much of the eastern part of the country. The EPO index on the lower left graphic has been negative through the last month. There are some signs in early March that this teleconnection may become neutral or slightly positive. And in that case, you ease the cold in early March, and if we go positive, it's kind of a normal situation for temperatures. But looking at the lower right graphic from Northeast Regional Climate Center, we have the 3 and 4 weeks ago temperature departures. You can see the cold all through the Northeast corresponding to this negative EPO pattern. And even in the last 2 weeks, we've increased the departures from normal such that we have a lot of stations reading 12 to 14, 15 degrees below normal for this point in February. And Boston is right up there with one or two slot for the coldest temperatures ever in their history. And again, looking at the 500 millibar for March 1st from the Euro, GFS, and the Canadian model. And all three of these models, you can see some slight variations, but trough in Alaska and some digging and coolness across the east with a high Arctic or even cross-polar flow connection. They're all pretty similar, right into early March. So CPC has come out with a 6 to 10 day outlook on the left. Temperatures below normal for us here in New England, and there's a slight chance of above normal precipitation along the coast. And in the 8 to 14 days, you see the cold easing. And by then we're into early March, and I kind of look at it like normal temperatures in the low 40s then, and so if we're below normal in the 30s, we're melting snow with a higher sun angle. Both exposures will be melting snow just the way you want to melt it. And it's still a little bit above normal precipitation in the 8 to 14 day in much of New England. If we want to look out further into March, CPC has painted for the Northeast below normal temperatures. but below normal temperatures in March can still melt some snow. And if you get the nice warm up during the day, cool nights, you have some good sugar mapling. And the temperatures, precip, equal chances of above or below normal. We're looking at the surface map on Sunday, the 22nd. We have a system cutting through the Great Lakes, which is not a real strong system, but it's one of the first ones that have done that in a month, extending the precipitation into New England. Snow and mix across much of the interior with rain along the south coast and the southeastern Mass. 500 millibar kind of shows a 70, 80 knot wind out of the southwest, getting a little bit of warmer air at this elevation, and you can see the trough is kind of retrograde a little bit to the west. Looking out for the middle of next week, GFS has a low off the coast. Some of the models are indicating a stronger system closer to the coast, so something to watch next week, but still look at the 850 temperatures. It's very cold over New England at this time. And the pattern here in the 500 millibar continues to show the ridge in the west and droppiness here in the east with jet structure close by. And if we want to even look at something this far out, all it's indicating is we're still in a stormy pattern. This is quite a wound-up system here. Whether or not it happens, of course, this is many runs away. A lot of cold air bank north and west of New England, warm air heading up the coast. So these systems are going to introduce something a little different than we've seen the last month. There's a chance of a changeover along the coast. And again, here we are sitting in this broad trough with a jet structure right along the eastern coast of USA. Again, we can look at these daily briefings that we put out here on Twitter, Facebook, and our internet page. One of the other products we're looking at is our 30 to 90 day February through April Streamflow outlook. And if you look here closely, we have 30 to 35 gauges. We're saying you have a 25% chance of exceeding minor flood levels during this period. So as we get closer to this, and depending on the pattern setting up, we'll see how this changes. But right now you can see that the rivers in Rhode Island and across ones surrounding Boston, 25% at least chance of introducing flood conditions. So our spring flood potential outlook, we kind of went with the snowwater equivalent being above normal here in southern New England. So we've gone with above normal flood potential, normal across much of the area, and below normal across some of the headwaters up in extreme northern New England, where their snowwater equivalents are actually normal to below normal time of year. Again, we'll be on Friday, March 6th, 11 a.m., and that happens between now and then. This is just a picture here of the snow in our office. It was 34 inches, which is pretty extreme for southeastern Mass. And that's about it. One little movie here of what the blizzard looked like out my front window last Sunday. Any questions?